Hello, all. This is Ann Y, and you are listening or watching to the Bible reading series. If you have not watched the first episode, please do so, for at least the disclaimer. Today's will be once again a little impromptu. This time frame in my life has been quite hectic up and down, so I'm going to do what I promised myself as best as I can. This will be, like I said, I think impromptu, so please bear with me as I read some of this. So, without any further ado, Matthew 6, 9 through 13, King James Version. After this manner, therefore, pray ye, Our Father, which art in heaven. Hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, in earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts, as we forgive our debtors. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory, forever. Amen. Yes, please, as it says, lead me not into temptation, but deliver me from the evil one on this one. Genesis 37, King James Version. Header is Joseph's dream. And Jacob dwelt in the land wherein his father was a stranger in the land of Canaan. And these are the generations of Jacob. Joseph, being 17 years old, was feeding the flock with his brethren, and the lad was with the sons of Bilhah, and with the sons of Zilpah, his father's wives. And Joseph brought unto his father their evil report. Now Israel loved Joseph more than all his children, because he was the son of his old age, and he made him a coat of many colors. And when his brethren saw that their father loved him more than all his brethren, they hated him, and could not speak peaceably unto him. And Joseph dreamed a dream, and he told it his brethren, and they hated him yet the more. And he said unto them, Hear, I pray you, this dream which I have dreamed. For behold, we were binding sheaves in the field, and lo, my sheaf arose, and also stood upright. And behold, your sheaves stood round about, and made obeisance to my sheaf. And his brethren said to him, Shalt thou indeed reign over us, or shalt thou indeed have dominion over us? And they hated him yet the more for his dreams and for his words. And he dreamed yet another dream, and told it his brethren, and said, Behold, I have dreamed a dream more, and behold, the sun and the moon and the 11 stars made obeisance to me. And he told it to his father and to his brethren, and his father rebuked him, and said unto him, What is this dream that thou hast dreamt? Shall I and thy mother and thy brethren indeed come to bow down ourselves to thee to the earth? And his brethren envied him. But his father observed the saying. And his brethren went to feed their father's flock in Shechem. And Israel said unto Joseph, Do not thy brethren feed the flock in Shechem? Come, I will send thee unto them. And he said to him, Here am I. And he said to him, Go, I pray thee, see whether it be well with thy brethren, and well with the flocks, and bring me word again. So he sent him out of the vale of Hebron. And he came to Shechem. And a certain man found him, and behold, he was wandering in the field. And the man asked him, saying, What seekest thou? And he said, I seek my brethren. Tell me, I pray thee, where they feed their flocks. And the man said, They are departed hence, for I heard them say, Let us go to Dothan. And Joseph went after his brethren, and found them in Dothan. The plot against Joseph. And when they saw him afar off, even before he came near unto them, they conspired against him to slay him. And they said one to another, Behold, this dreamer cometh. Come now, therefore, let us slay him, and cast him into some pit, and we will say, Some evil beast hath devoured him. And we shall see what will become of his dreams. And Reuben heard it, and he delivered him out of their hand, and said, Let us not kill him. And Reuben said unto them, Shed no blood, cast him into this pit that is in the wilderness, and lay no hand upon him, that he might rid him out of their hands, to deliver him to his father again. And it came to pass, when Joseph was come unto his brethren, that they stripped Joseph out of his coat of many colors that was on him. And they took him and cast him into a pit, and the pit was empty, there was no water in it. And they sat down to eat bread, and they lifted up their eyes and looked, and behold, a company of Ishmaelites came from Gilead, with their camels bearing spicery and balm and myrrh, going to carry it down to Egypt. And Yehuda said unto his brethren, What profit is it if we slay our brother? and conceal his blood. Come, let us sell him to the Ishmaeli, and let not our hand be upon him, for he is our brother and our flesh, and his brethren were content. And then there passed by Midiani merchantmen, and they drew and lifted up Joseph out of the pit, and sold Joseph to the Ishmaeli for 20 pieces of silver, and they brought Joseph into Egypt. And Reuben returned unto the pit, and behold, Joseph was not in the pit, and he rent his clothes. He returned unto his brethren, and said, This child is not, and I, whither shall I go? And they took Joseph's coat, and killed a kid of the goats, and dipped the coat in the blood. And they sent the coat of many colors, and they brought it to their father, and said, This have we found. Know now whether it be thy son's coat or no. And he knew it, and said, It is my son's coat. An evil beast hath devoured him. Joseph is without doubt rent in pieces. And Jacob rent his clothes, and put sackcloth upon his loins, and mourned for his son many days. And all his sons and all his daughters rose up to comfort him, but he refused to be comforted. And he said, For I will go down into the grave unto my son mourning. Thus his father wept for him. And the Midiani sold him in Egypt unto Potiphar, an officer of Pharaoh's, and captain of Pharaoh's, and captain of the guard. This ends the reading portion. Slight overview here. Joseph is the youngest of the children, and is born to his father Jacob at a very late age in his years, and so he loves him. He loves him because of this condition, right? It was kind of an unexpected thing to him, but also through the life of Jacob. Jacob. He's coming to he's lived a very full life, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Anyways, so he loved him more than all his brethren, so he creates this coat of many colors, right? Which the reason for the many colors is it takes a lot of effort to create a coat, but then to add the many colors to it would require much more effort. So this thing, there was much effort that was put into it from Israel. Excuse me. Yes. So, sorry. Probably got some words mixed up there. Now, Israel loved Joseph more than all his children. So he made this coat, right? So because of this, and I think this is a very important piece, even if I'm getting Jacob and Israel mixed up in my head for a moment there, one and the same essentially. Now, the importance of this moment is one piece. They hated him. There was hate. And if we look back into one of my more early chapter readings, and I think that this is an extremely important piece of the overarching theme of the Bible, and that is hate. They hated him. And so what begets from that concept there? What befalls this, right? This orientation towards their brother. Their brother is blessed, they are not. Well, Cain and Abel are the same thing. Abel provides an offering, so does Cain. Abel, however, on one hand is blessed by God. God chooses to bless him, but for no reason at all. There's no reason given for that. However, what happens is jealousy and hatred towards what's going on. Well, why am I not being blessed? Why is this not coming to me? And this is very important, in my opinion. So it goes on, and they plot after a dream that he tells them, which enrages them even more. And this is important because he is being provided something that's going to happen in the future, and instead of listening to him, they become enraged. They don't want to hear it. This is something similar to our day and age. If we find ourselves getting angry at the things that we hear from somebody else, then maybe we should stop, pull ourselves back, and listen. Listen to what's actually being said. And he, let me just begin by saying this. To love someone, you must be patient. I prefer the King James Version on this one. Ironically, it says suffereth long. So let us be patient. That's the first step. The word kind is more in reference to being in service of somebody else. It doesn't mean nice. It doesn't mean to be nice to somebody, which ironically here, Israel actually does this. Let me see if I can find it here in the text. And he told it to his father and to his brethren, and his father rebuked him and said unto him, What is this dream that thou hast dreamed? Shall I and thy mother and thy brethren indeed come to bow down ourselves to the earth? Now, we may see this as like a, almost like a, how dare you? But I'm seeing this more as an inquisitive thing. Sorry to go off on my own personal commentary here, without going into the actual rabbinical commentary, but I think that this is extremely important. And his brethren envied him, but his father observed the saying. He was patient with him, yet he still asked. He took account. There's a moment in another chapter that I read that God comes down. There may be a physical thing, sure. But what is said in the Rava is something along the lines of, he does this to show us that we must take account of everything. How do we do this? But be patient. We have to be patient. We have to be patient to find out all things in this. They are not. The brethren are not. They, as it says, hated him. Why? Because they think in their heads, and maybe I'm reading into the script, how dare he get this blessing? He's not us. I mean, Reuven is the oldest. Why is he not getting a cloak? He's the old. He deserves it. How often we hear the word, that person deserves, I deserve. Well, it's not exactly how life works, is it? And so, not to belabor that point, what happens in the following? Well, they plot. Initially to slay him. Well, in defense, the older brother fortunately comes in and says, let's hold on, let's not kill him. Let's just put him in a pit and I'll take him back to dad. Right? It's kind of the whole point there, right? Reuven said unto them, Shed no blood, but cast him into this pit that is in the wilderness, lay no hand upon him, that he might rid him out of their hands to deliver him to his father again. So Reuven's like, yo, I know we're all angry here. We need to pump the brakes. Let's just put him in this pit over here, and I'll deal with him later. However, Yehuda comes up with a better idea. He's like, how about this? How about we sell him? Now, if I can understand this correctly, Reuven's not, somehow he's not there. I don't know exactly what's going on with where Reuven goes here. Maybe he's looking at the pit or something, but he comes back. Behold, Joseph was not in the pit, and he rent his clothes. Right? So somehow Reuven leaves. Yehuda said unto his brethren, What profit is it if we slay our brother and conceal his blood? Let's sell him, essentially. But Reuven returns, and Joseph is not in the pit, and he's off towards Egypt. So he rends his clothes. Right? He's so frustrated. And the thing is like, we don't quite understand this possibly in our time period because, like, I mean, clothing is just so prevalent, I guess, maybe. And also maybe there's some iconic things of someone ripping their clothes to lay down the law, in particular media. But this is a proclamation of being distraught, right? So Reuven's distraught. What he tried to do is not coming to fruition. Yehuda is now convinced his brothers to make money off of their only brother, or their younger brother, and now he is sold into Potiphar's hands in Egypt. So, in maybe on metaphor here, the pharaohs were considered divine at the time, and so this is almost like being sold to another god in another land, which is in the culture. This is terrible, because you've left the land that God resides in. You've left Beit El, right? The house of the Lord. El Beit El. He's no longer there. He's no longer in the presence of the Lord. This is an affront, right? And now he's under the care of another god. If we want to take it in those types of terms. But however, we're going to move to the rabbi commentary, and hopefully I can move through this fast, because I partially read this, and I apologize. I should give better effort towards this. But here it's explaining why when it says Jacob dwelt in the land of his father's sojourning, it's referring to the previous chapter that I went over, and how it wasn't very long, and that's because it doesn't respect Esav. I don't know. To take the time to actually write out Esav's children, I think that's if it wanted to not pay any type of, because it says, because they were not distinguished or nor important enough to elaborate on in detail. I'm not so sure. I don't know. Yeah. This whole thing is about that. It provides an analogy of someone who loses a pearl inside of the sand and sifts the sand and throws away the rocks that are in his hand for the pearl. And then it talks about another one where it's the flax dealers. This flax dealer comes to a town, and he's like, I don't know what to do with all this flax. So they set up a scheme in which the flax seller is next to somewhere with a lot of spark, and so the whole flax goes up in flame, which I think is slightly disrespectful, if I put my own opinion on that one. And these are the generations of Jacob when Joseph was 17 years old, being a shepherd. He was with his brothers with the flocks, and he was a lad, and was with the sons of Bilhah and with the sons of Zilpah, his father's wives. And Joseph brought evil tales about them to their father. These are the generations of Jacob, and these are those of the generations of Jacob. These are their settlements and their wanderings until they came to settle. So, meaning they're finally settling down in one area. The first cause of their wanderings when Joseph was 17 years old, etc. Through this, the events that unfold, they wandered and descended to Egypt. This is according to the plain explanation of the verse, putting everything into its proper perspective. The Midrash Haggadah, however, interprets the passage as follows. Scripture bases the generations of Jacob on Joseph because of many things. One is that with his entire being, Jacob served Laban only for Rachel, and Rachel bore Joseph. In addition, Joseph's features resembled Jacob's, and whatever happened to Jacob happened to Joseph. This one, Jacob, was hated, and that one, Joseph, was hated. This one, his brother Esav sought to kill him, and that one, his brothers sought to kill him, and likewise many other similarities related. So it's referencing the fact that we have a constant theme here, and why I keep on bringing it up, and I know maybe you might be getting tired of this, but I really hope that it's hammered home that the beginning parts of Genesis is this concept of the condition of the heart. The condition of the heart. This constant Esav hating his brother. The 12 other brothers, or 11 other brothers, hating Joseph. And both of them, and Cain and Abel. And all three of them, Abel, Jacob, and Joseph, were just blessed in a certain manner, right? For no reason at all per se to the other individuals, and they thought that this was unfair, I guess, in a way. So anyways, what this leads to in our lives if we allow that thing, if we don't change the condition of our heart, if we don't change our way, sin lies at our doorstep and it desires to consume us. And just as Cain, we will not be able to bear the weight of what we've done. He was a lad, and he behaved childishly, fixing his hair and touching up his eyes so that he would appear handsome. Yeah, this is a common trope when they say when somebody is a lad. I think that this is more along the meaning, instead of fixing his hair and touching up his eyes, I think this is more stating that he's just young. He's childish in his ways. With the sons of Bilhah, that is to say, he was frequently with the sons of Bilhah because his other brothers would demean them while he acted friendly toward them. Sure. I guess non-consequential in my mind. It is implying that they acted in such a way. I mean, it's reasonable, in my opinion. Evil tales about them. Any evil he saw in his brothers, the sons of Leah, he would tell his father, that they ate limbs from living animals, that they demeaned the sons of the handmaids, they calling them slaves, and that they were suspected of illicit sexual relationships. For these three tales, he was punished. For the report that his brothers ate limbs for living animals, they slaughtered a kid when they sold him, and he did not eat it alive. For the report that he told about them, they called his brothers slaves. Joseph was sold as a slave. And concerning the illicit sexual relationships that he told about them, his master's wife lifted her eyes. So I have to disagree with this one personally, because this is imparting a concept where if someone is doing wrong, you should run to somebody else and tell them quickly, Dad, do you see that they're doing wrong? Instead of just handling it with them. I'm not sure if they did do these things. Maybe they did. I'm not sure. We do know Reuven, if I have it correctly, was disordering his father's bed, as they comment. However, so when Joseph was 17 years old, his brothers, his father's wives, and Joseph brought evil tales about them to their father. Okay, so it is true that he's telling their father these things. So I'll correct myself here, but I don't know if that is a proper thing. I will maintain that thought. I'm not so sure. That doesn't mean I'm 100% confident. But anyways, tales about them, slander. So if this is true, whatever evil he could tell about them, he told. If this is true, then it changes the perspective of who Joseph actually is, which then becomes even more interesting because, who are we? But the same thing. We're rather wretched ourselves. Tales, an expression of making the lips of the sleeping speak. I think that this might be. Let me see if. Translation. What this word is. Slander. Okay. Yeah. So if this is slandering, then I'm going to definitively say what he is doing is wrong. So moving on, and Israel loved Joseph more than all his sons because he was a son of his old age, and he made him a fine woolen coat. Here, it's interesting. It doesn't even say that it's of many colors. Son of his old age, for he was born to him in old age. Onkelos rendered, for he was a wise son to him. Whatever he had learned from Shem and Eber, he gave over to him. Another explanation for Joseph's features resembled him. Yeah. So there is a constant kind of like concept that son of old age, youngest child, that there's moments when you can assume that Joseph looked exactly like Jacob or Israel in his life because he took upon himself the appearance of his father. That's how this is kind of coming about. And then he was born to him in his old age. That's imparting that he's saying that he was wise, a wise son to him, because he keeps on coming to me with all this information. Maybe to the fine woolen, a term meaning fine wool garments like green wool and blue wool, and like the fine woolen coat of Tamar and Amnon. The Midrash Agada, however, explains that it was called this because of Yosef's troubles, namely that he was sold to Potiphar, to the merchants, to the Ishmaeli and the Midiani. I think that it was just a precious coat. What I can find, in my understanding, it may not have been like a rainbow-colored coat, but I think that there was much effort that was put into this coat because the others were jealous of it. They tore it, they rent it, and they covered it in blood and gave it back to their father. And his brothers saw that their father loved him more than all his brothers, so they hated him, and they could not speak with him peacefully, which, understandably, I mean, here's another problem that I see now a little bit more in the text, is that if he was doing such a thing as slandering them, there could be some just cause for them to be mad at him. But that still doesn't mean that it's just for the following. So it would be better for them to give up their hate and not allow for the following things to happen than to do what they do. Yet, if you know the rest of the story, God turns the thing into good. So I do want to make that point out, because some would say that, like, well, this was all planned. It's like, maybe I lean towards more that things happen and it becomes the story of the, like, this is humanity, and this is the story of humanity. But God continuously over time proves that he is faithful even in our unfaithfulness and our wickedness. They could not speak with him peacefully. From what is stated to their discredit, we may learn something to their credit, that they did not say one thing with their mouth and think differently in their heart. Speak with him. So to speak with him, from what is stated to their discredit, we may learn something to their credit. I'm not gonna. I don't know if I can give credence to that. Maybe I'd have to think longer and ruminate on that concept. Behold, we were binding sheaves in the midst of the field, and behold, my sheaf arose, also stood upright, and behold, your sheaves encircled it and prostrated themselves to my sheaf. Binding sheaves, and likewise carrying his sheaves. The same is found in the Mishnah, but if one finds large sheaves, one must take them and announce them. Oh boy. This is a moment where I wish I would have given a little bit more reading. Well, I'll have to skip that then. My sheaf arose, it stood erect, and also stood upright, and remained standing erect and in its place. I will mention that commonly being standing and not being standing is in reference sometimes to judgment. So I'll just leave that there. So his brothers said to him, will you reign over us, or will you govern us? And they continued further to hate him on account of his dreams and account of his words, because of the evil tales that he would bring to their father. I mean, I would be frustrated too. It's very reasonable. And he told it to his father and to his brother. So the dream of the stars and the sun and the moon. His father rebuked him, said to him, what is this dream that you have dreamed? Will we come, I, your mother, and your brothers, to prostrate ourselves to you to the ground? And he told it to his father and to his brothers. After he told it to his brothers, he told it again to his father in their presence. His father rebuked him because he was bringing hatred upon himself. Will we come? Isn't your mother Rachel already dead? I was thinking just that when I was reading that, but Jacob did not know that the matters referred to Bilhah, who had raised him, Joseph, as if she were his mother. Our rabbis, however, derived from here that there is no dream without meaningless components. Jacob, however, intended to make his sons forget the whole matter so that they would not envy him. Therefore he said, will we come, etc., just as it is impossible for your mother, so the rest meaningless. Yeah, that's the last part of that's kind of interesting. But so because he was bringing hatred upon himself, I could see that. He's rebuking him like what are you doing? Why are you doing this? Why are you even saying these things? And then he tries to placate the brothers in this moment, at least in the commentary here. He was saying it in a way that it's like, well, your mother's no longer here, so that's physically impossible. However, this is referring to Bilhah, and it does. I mean, that's the future of this whole thing, at least in the commentary here. So his brothers envied him, but his father awaited the matter. He was waiting and looking forward in expectation of when its fulfillment would come, similarly awaiting the realization of God. You do not wait for my sin. You do not wait. So I think this is, it's possible that he is anticipating the potential of these things because he loves his son. Therefore, the grandness of this. I think it may be more along the lines of like taking account of the entire situation before making a judgment call. And his brothers went to pasture their father's flocks in Shechem. There are dots over the word, for they went only to the pasture themselves. And Israel said to Joseph, are your brothers not pasturing in Shechem? Come, and I will send you to them. And he said to him, here I am. An expression of modesty and eagerness, he went with alacrity to fulfill his father's commands, although he knew that his brothers hated him. That is that's a good point. That he did the here I am, full well knowing that his brothers were not happy about his goings and his doings. We also see this in multiple instances later on, but I won't get too far into that. So he said to him, go now and see to your brother's welfare and the welfare of the flocks, and bring me back word. 14. Pray thee, see whether it will be well with thy brethren and with the flocks, bring me word again. So he sent him out of the vale of Hebron. Okay. All right, so he's sending them out to find out how they're doing. From Hebron, but it is not Hebron on a mountain. It is stated, and they ascended in the south and came as far as Hebron in Numbers 13:22. But it is to be understood that he sent him from the deep counsel of the righteous man who is buried in Hebron, Abraham, to fulfill what was said to Abraham between the parts. And he came to Shechem, a place destined for misfortune. There the tribes sinned. There Dinah was violated. There the kingdom of the house of David was divided, as it is said. And Rehoboam went to Shechem. There's some pretty serious things according to the fact that this is in Shechem. I would encourage going back to the chapter in which I read about that, because their actions create problems amongst themselves and the other nations, and that is quite a problem. And they also turned the thing that God gave as a sign into a wicked deed, essentially. Then a man found him, and behold, he was straying in the field, and man asked him, saying, what are you looking for? The man found him. This is the angel Gabriel, as it is said, and the man Gabriel. So they're implying that this was an angel that he met in the field, a messenger. The man said, they have traveled away from here, for I overheard them say, let us go to Dothan. So Joseph went after his brothers, and he found them in Dothan. They have traveled away from here. They removed themselves from brotherhood. Okay, that's an interesting way to read it. Let us go to Dothan. So to seek regarding your legal pretexts by which they could put you to death according to its simple meaning. However, it is a place name, and a biblical verse never loses its simple sense. Oh, I'm more curious about what that word is then, or phrase. Okay, so it's not going to give me what that is. Yeah, this is an interesting point that they are doing this almost as an act of we are no longer the brother of this one. They saw him far because, I mean, the following actions act as if he's not their brother. And they saw him from afar, and when he had not yet drawn near to them, they plotted against him to put him to death. They plotted. They were filled with plots and cunning against him. I mean, pretty straightforward. So now let us kill him, and we will cast him into one of the pits, and we will say, a wild beast devoured him, and we will see what will become of his dreams. Yeah, that's, we'll see what happens. You dream about us bowing down to you, and we will see what will become of the dreams. Rabbi Yitzhak said, this verse says, expound on me. This verse demands a midrashic interpretation. The Holy Spirit says thus, they, the brothers, say, let us kill him. But the verse concludes, and we will see what will become of his dreams. Let us see whose word will stand up, yours or mine. It is impossible that they, the brothers, are saying, and we will see what will become of his dreams, because since they will kill him, his dreams will come to naught. Exactly. I can pretty much agree with that thought process that we're not going to let this happen. Was kind of the idea. But Reuven heard, and he saved him from their hands, and he said, let us not deal him a deadly blow. That's a different phrase. Literally, let us not smite him the soul. This is, let us not deal him a deadly blow, which means death. Yeah, so here it's essentially meaning, the way that I'm reading it now is that let's not do too much to him that it actually, he will lose his soul. Let's do what we must to placate ourselves for what he has done against us in our anger inside of our hearts. Which I mean, that even it puts a little bit more perspective in my mind about this whole situation. And Reuven said to them, do not shed blood, cast him into this pit, which is in the desert, but do not lay a hand upon him. Now that's a different change of tone, right? In order to save him from their hands, to return him to their father, to save him. The Holy Spirit testifies for Reuven that he said this only to save him, so that he would be able to come and take him out of there. He said, I am the firstborn and the eldest of them all. The sin will be attributed only to me. Wow. That is, if that's not foreshadowing of what happens later on. So, why this is important is because it's actually showing what happens on the cross. You see, they went out into this field, they plot, they scheme, and there's the innocent that comes out, per se, quote unquote. I mean, I don't think that Yosef is all that innocent for slandering his brothers, but, which, by the way, I will hit on this. This is one of the first times that I think I recognize the word slander. If slander needs to be defined, that is how slander is by telling someone else of somebody else's deeds to discredit them or belittle them, or, I mean, simply just to, make oneself look better. Anyways, back to this point. To save him. Who saves us? That's Christ. What's going on here? What's going on here? All the things that they have done will now have to be accounted for. And he is attempting to take it upon himself as the firstborn. He's like, I am the eldest. I will attribute all of this to me. Which is fascinating. Like, I probably could go on for a while on that, but I'm not going to. Hopefully you can kind of start seeing the threads in my mind about what this is saying, especially in the commentary. Sorry about that. Now it came to pass when Yosef came to his brothers, and they stripped Yosef of his shirt, of the fine woolen coat was upon him. Let me make sure this isn't important for my wife or something. Nope. All right. They stripped Yosef of his shirt. This is the shirt, the coat, of the fine woolen coat which was upon him. This is what his father gave to him, more than his brothers. See, He was blessed above the brothers, and their jealousy, their enviousness, their hatred is beginning what is happening. And they took him and cast him into the pit. Now the pit was empty; there was no water in it. Since it says, "Now the pit was empty," do I not know that there was no water in it? For what purpose did the Torah write there was no water in it? To inform us that there was no water in it, but there were snakes and scorpions in it. Okay, this is that's a good point. That if there's no water in it, it's empty, then it's very likely that there may be snakes or scorpions in it, which are poisonous. And so, though they didn't intend to kill him outright, they put him in dire straits. And they sat down to eat a meal, and they lifted their eyes and saw, and behold, a cavern of Yishmaeli was coming from Gilead, and their camels were carrying spices, balm, lotus, and going to take it down to Egypt. Lotus versus myrrh. A caravan, as the Targum renders, because of those who travel on the way, and their camels were carrying. Why did Scripture publicize their burden? To let you know the reward of the righteous, for it is customary for Arabs to carry only netha and tar, whose odor is foul. But for this one, Yosef, it was arranged that they should be carrying spices, so that he should not be afflicted by a foul odor. Maybe. I was thinking more along the lines of these are the things that they use in Egypt to embalm individuals, which we see later on. We see later on someone else in the New Testament receive something extremely similar. However, we also see Yosef being what is now considered a scapegoat. This is, it's not said here, but we may see the word come up later on, the concept of what a scapegoat is, in my limited understanding. So, spices, any collection of many spices, so just multiple different kinds, balm, sap that drips from balsam trees, which is enumerated with the ingredients of the incense used in the temple. And lotus, this is called this in the language of the Mishnah. Our sages define it as a root of an herb called aristolochi, birthwort. Interesting. These are very indicative of the three gifts, or the gifts to Jesus. It's not exact, but I do find this foul odor concept interesting, because to be fair, I'm not like downplaying this, because odor is one of the things that comes from a sacrifice to God, and so being a foul odor, it can be conceived as like, okay, so that's a foul odor. God likes good odors, so being in a foul odor displeases God. That concept is definitely within Scripture. So not gonna try to dig too deep into that one, but it is a don't stink, I guess. And Yehuda said to his brothers, "What is the gain if we slay our brother and cover up his blood? What is the gain? What money will we profit and cover up his blood and conceal his death?" So here, and I could say, and this is a tough one, but one of the reasons why Jesus was sent to the cross, I believe, was because they were afraid that their entire system in which they make money would collapse if it were true. This could be entirely reading into things. I wouldn't create action on it other than know for yourself. This is an ill-gotten gain concept, which we should be wary of. It's another reason why certain things have happened in earlier chapters, like the flood. So, 27, come let us sell him to the Yishmaeli, but our hand shall not be upon him, for he is our brother, our flesh, and his brothers hearkened. They accepted from him every instance that signifies acceptance, such as this one, and such as, and Jacob listened to his father. We will do, and we will listen. Every instance that means the hearing of the ear, however, such as, and they heard the voice of the Lord going into the garden. But Rebecca overheard, and Israel heard of it. Okay, so it's a they listened. They didn't just hear him. They hearkened is the word, and it's just giving examples of this when that was used previously, or and future in Exodus. Then Midiani men, merchants passed by, and they pulled and lifted Joseph from the pit, and they sold Joseph to the Ishmaeli for 20 silver pieces, and they brought Joseph to Egypt. Then Midiani men, merchants, passed by. This is another caravan, and Scripture informs you that they were sold many times. That he was sold many times. Oh, okay. So he was passed off by caravan to caravan, and they pulled, the sons of Jacob pulled Joseph out of the pit and sold him to the Ishmaeli to the Midiani, and the Midiani to Egypt. Okay, so yeah, he is changing hands all the way to Egypt, which there may be some implication there on being transferred, but. And Reuben returned to the pit, and behold, Joseph was not in the pit, so he rent his garments. Reuben returned. When Joseph was sold, Reuben was not there, for his day to go and serve his father had arrived. Another explanation, he was busy with his sackcloth and his fasting for disarranging his father's bed. Back to the disarranging of his father's bed. Okay. So usually when you rent your clothes, your parts are presented, and therefore they put on sackcloth, which I think is a very intended to be uncomfortable for the wearer. So what it's saying here is the reason why he wasn't there was because once he rent his clothes, he had to go and put the sackcloth on. Very reasonable. The other parts, I keep on laughing about this disarranging his father's bed, because it almost seems like just an obvious avoidance of what actually happened, but I should be fair. And he returned to his brothers and said, "The boy is gone, and where will I go? Where will I flee from father's pain?" And they took Joseph's coat, and they slaughtered a goat, and they dipped the coat in blood. They slaughtered a goat. Its blood resembled that of a human. The coat, this is its name. But when it is connected to another word, as in Joseph's coat, a fine wool coat, linen shirt. Okay, yeah, it's just saying that it's Joseph's coat. He recognized it and said, "It is my son's coat. A wild beast has devoured him. Joseph has surely been torn up." He is proclaimed, "Yes, it is. That is my son's coat. A wild beast has devoured him." The Holy Spirit flickered within him. Potiphar's wife was ultimately provoke him. Okay. Now that why did the Holy One, blessed be he, not reveal it, the truth to him? Because they, the brothers, excommunicated and cursed anyone who would reveal it, and they included the Holy One, blessed be he, with them. But Yitzhak, however, knew that he was alive. But he said, "How can I reveal it if the Holy One, blessed be he, does not wish to reveal it to him?" Okay. Yeah, that's... It's simply saying that Israel knew, but he was not saying it because the Holy One was involved, and that's I'm having a hard one on that one for myself. I'll just say it that way. However, what it is doing is speaking about a moment here with Potiphar's wife. If you're not familiar, there's a moment that Potiphar's wife attempts to take Joseph immorally, and she is holding on to his cloak. So it's referring to her being a wild beast, and the cloak itself is in reference to that. So we'll get to that later on, but that is an interesting concurrence of moments that his coat keeps on getting taken from him for some weird reason. And Jacob rent his garments, and he put sackcloth on his loins. So here we are. He put it on his loins, and he mourned for his son many days, 22 years, quite some time. Joseph left him until Jacob went down to Egypt. As it is said, Joseph was 17 years old. And he was 30 years old when he stood before Pharaoh in the 7 years of plenty. For this is already 2 years of the famine. When Jacob came to Egypt, here are 22 years corresponding to the 22 that Jacob did not fulfill the mitzvah to honor his father and mother, 20 years that he was in Laban's house, and 2 years that he was on the road when he returned from Laban's house, 1.5 years in Succoth, and in 6 months in Beit El. This is what he meant when he said to Laban, "This is 20 years for me in your house. They are for me upon me, and I will ultimately suffer for 20 years corresponding to them." All right. It's referencing the fact that these time periods are very similar, but it's also accounting for the time periods in which how long they were apart for. And all his sons and all his daughters rose to console him, but he refused to be consoled, for he said, "Because I will descend on account of my son as a mourner to the grave," and his father wept for him. And all his daughters, Rabbi Yehuda said, "Twin sisters were born with every tribe, and they married them." Rabbi Nehemiah says they were Canaanites, women. But what is the meaning of on all his daughters? Excuse me. A person does not hesitate to call his son-in-law his son and his daughter-in-law his daughter. There is a concept that there is a twin sister for every son that was born. But he refused to be consoled. No one accepts consolation for a person who is really alive but believed to be dead, for it is decreed that a dead person should be forgotten from the heart, but not a living person. Yes, if we're reading into this, that he knew exactly that his son was still alive, but not. Yeah, I will descend on account for my son. There are many instances of this that serve as an expression of on account of Saul, and on account of the bloody house, because the ark of God had been taken, and because of the dead. Phrasing, I guess, and as a mourner to the grave. According to its simple meaning, it is a term denoting the grave. In my mourning I will be buried, and I will not be consoled all my days. According to its midrashic interpretation, however, Gehinnom, there we go. Man, this sign was given into my hand from God, that if none of my sons dies with my lifetime, I am assured that I will not see the face of Gehinnom. Gehinnom is essentially what Western culture could kind of perceive as hell. It's mixing some things that are not appropriate to it, but for lack of time. So he's saying that I think the best way to put it is I personally I will be dead personally because my son is dead. Like no one will console me in this. I am like that. I am like the dead, and no one can pull me from this. Essentially, if I'm getting that correctly. And his father wept for him. This refers to Yitzhak. He was weeping over Jacob's distress, but he did not mourn for Joseph, for he knew that he was alive. Once again, I'm struggling with that one. Really struggling with that one. However, I do need to remember that this is how they perceive this, so I need to take that into account. And the Midiani sold him to Egypt, to Potiphar, Pharaoh's chamberlain, chief of the slaughterers. Oh. Those who slaughter the king's animals. So, I don't know if that's the same phrasing here. Captain of the guard. Yeah. That implies a little bit more. It could be, to be completely fair, it could be both. Like it is very possible that he was both of those things. However, I mean, it implies a few other things that we could take out from where Yosef ended up. I'm once again sorry that I could not give you my best. I've been running around like crazy. Hopefully, this was still good for you. Thank you so much for listening all the way to the end, and I hope to see you next time.